recording now. There might be a little counter. I think we're live and officially recording. I appreciate you doing this. We talked about it being just raw and just having a conversation. That's the goal. I think that's how, you know, most people learn, is just through hearing other people talk and understanding their experiences, and maybe it connects with them, maybe not. So, Tracy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Like, it's an honor to be asked to do this.
Of course, and we all know that this is kind of a hard thing to do, right? Put yourself on camera, throw yourself out there, talk a little bit about yourself. Not many people are brave enough to do that. So kudos to you for joining me and putting yourself out there.
Thanks.
Um, Now I see it says realtor in California and AZ. Does that mean you are licensed in two states?
I am officially in California and Arizona as of 2 years ago. So,
Okay, so California first.
yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been licensed as a realtor?
So, I got licensed in California. I was based in San Diego and I got licensed in 2018. I kind of got into real estate a little bit before that. I started working with a couple friends of mine who owned a bunch of short-term rentals, so coastline Airbnbs, and this was, 2016, so it was kind of the height of the Airbnb world. And they brought me in, and I started helping them and working with them, just doing kind of scheduling cleaning, helping them get the places, spruced up, doing a little bit more like staging sort of kind of stuff. And then that ended up kind of melting into me getting my license and helping them start purchasing these Airbnb type residences that they could
Mhm.
rent out in the future. And so that kind of is what transitioned me into the full-time real estate back in 2018.
So they must have really liked you if they encouraged you to get your license and were
And
willing
leave.
to be partners with you, right? And so what a great start, though. I mean, we all as realtors, if we can line up with an investor that we have a relationship with that does transactions, that's a dream, right? That's a big goal as realtors, to have someone that trusts you enough to continue to use you. So what a great start that was. And you said that was back in 2018?
2018, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that was 7 years ago.
Mhm.
And so needless to say, you found your passion.
Yeah. It's funny. I never realized that real estate was something I was passionate about. And, I had been doing different jobs throughout my earlier life. And then when I decided to move into real estate, I talked to my best friend and I told her, hey, I was going to get my license. And she started laughing at me and she was like, it's about time. And I'm like, what do you mean it's about time? And she reminded me, she's like, Tracy, do you remember when we moved to Albuquerque for college and you used to make me drive around with you to look at houses? She's like, do you remember the Peacock house in the South Valley? And I just had to start laughing because it's true. My favorite thing to do is drive around neighborhoods and look at real estate and get online and look it up on, Zillow. So it was something I was doing long before I actually did real estate. And yeah, I found a house down in the South Valley that was completely out of place, like a mansion in the ghetto, kind of. And they had peacocks roaming their front yard. So it was like, you know, so real
I
estate
love
has
that
always
story.
been something I've been into.
I love that story. It's kind of because it actually reminds me a little bit about myself. I fell into real estate. A buddy of mine called me, said, I'm starting a real estate team. I think you'd be good at this. Why don't we get your license? Right. And I was like, sure, let's do it. And, the second I got my license, I fell in love. And I remember little hints of my past. I remember even all the way back in sixth grade, my parents built a home right on a lot. And I remember for some reason going to the design center with them and then picking out this feature where this front main entrance was arched. And when we went and looked at the home and it was framed, it was actually squared out. And again, sixth grade, I said, Mom, didn't you say you wanted that part arched? And she goes, oh my gosh, you're right. And it turns out they completely messed up and fixed it in time. And I was in sixth grade. And then I remember looking at houses too and actually really enjoying that when I bought my first house. And I was like, huh, I got to do it for a living. So that
Yeah.
resonates with me. I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people that are in real estate, that are surviving in real estate. I'm talking to the people that have been in the business longer than 3 years,
Hmm.
right? Which means they've survived two different markets or
Yeah.
more, right? And so I'm sure that they have similar stories. about how they, got into real estate. So that's pretty good. I appreciate you sharing. Um, so real estate for 7 years. How many brokerages have you been with?
So I started with Keller Williams out in San Diego. And so I was with them until, well, so just to back that up, I moved here to Phoenix in 2022. And so when I moved here to Phoenix, I decided to get licensed here as well. So I started with Keller Williams here as well. And then about 6 months, 8 months after that, I joined EXP. So you guys are only my second brokerage, technically.
Okay, good
Yeah.
deal. And so 8 months with EXP.
No, so I just had my 1 year anniversary in December. So I'm about a year and a half into EXP now.
Okay, and then you were with Kelly Williams for how long before that?
Well, from 2018 until 2022. So,
Okay, okay. So Keller Williams, a lot of people from Keller Williams. Was there anything specifically that you liked about Keller Williams?
um, yeah, the training was pretty good on the front when you're going into real estate blind and being new at it. You don't understand contracts, you don't understand the language. So the training and the people that backed me up and supported me were really good. I made some amazing connections with my brokerage in California. And so yeah, there was definitely some aspects about it that I really enjoyed. There were some other things that were contributing factors as to why I decided to move over to EXP as well. So
Do you mind talking about those a little bit? Just kind,
yeah, sure.
I think that Keller Williams is a big brokerage, a lot of people there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And are there for reasons that are probably similar to the things that you liked. But then again, you said there were some things that were missing that were because you're a career agent. I mean, you're a
Yeah.
career realtor, so you're in this for the long haul, which means that you want to kind of plant your roots at a place that's going to benefit you long term, and you're
Absolutely.
loyal. Being with Keller Williams that long shows some loyalty there, which is a great thing. So what were the kind of the deciding factors on why you made the switch?
I would say a couple of things really kind of came into play with that. A little bit of the culture. Keller Williams is very big on their culture. And I found myself clashing a little bit with the people in my brokerage, um, belief wise, from California. So, I mean, was born and raised in conservative New Mexico. So, California has very different kind of belief systems, which I align with some of it and don't with others parts of it. But I felt that there was some clashing going on just in the culture of the brokerage that I didn't feel I was connecting with in the way that I should have. And so that, kind of got my mind thinking about, maybe exploring some other places, other brokerages. But really, I think the biggest factor that kind of got me to move away from Keller Williams and towards EXP was getting licensed in 2 states. So EXP has an amazing benefit to being licensed in multiple states. It costs the same amount. It's not this state's that state. And so with Keller Williams, I mean, I was just paying so much to my brokerage in California, my brokerage in Phoenix, and then the commission splits on top of that. Like there was no way in heck I was going to cap with the way things were. And just the fees to do it in both states with two different brokers, it was so expensive. And so when I weighed out the cost benefit of EXP, that alone was almost just like I would be stupid not to take advantage of that. And then the other thing, actually, I said two, but three things, is the EXP platform being virtual. I found out through my many years with Keller Williams that I am not a brick and mortar kind of girl. Like, I don't want to have to go sit in an office. I don't like that. And same thing with sort of like meeting with your broker. I found it to be very difficult to approach my broker. I felt like I was an inconvenience to have to go knock on my broker's door. And not to say that they weren't absolutely gracious and helpful every time I had to, but just it was an anxiety thing for me. And then moving into EXP, the virtual world is like chef's kiss for me. So I love EXP World. And I mean, I know I kind of sound like a salesman with that, but the brokers have been so supportive and so amazing. It is my favorite thing to have a question and just be like, pop. And I'm sitting in front of a broker in 2 minutes. And I can say, hey, here's my question. They're always there. They answer the dumb questions, they answer the hard questions. And then you can just pop back into reality and go back to doing your work. So it's so convenient to have the team there at any given time that you need it. It was a game changer for me.
Wow, so many things to touch on there. I
Yeah,
mean,
sorry.
all great things, right? Like culture, I understand that part, and it's good to be surrounded by people that think differently than you. I'm right there about it. That's why our group is so diversified.
Yeah.
Um, but we don't bring it into the office either. You know what I mean? Like we just keep it to ourselves. We all respect each other's opinions and professions and why we think the way we think, and we let that be. We don't bring it around. And sometimes if it's just brought in and it's not where you align, it can be a very uncomfortable environment. So I
Yeah.
totally understand that. Glad you found us a diversified group that kind of leave that stuff out and just focus on being great realtors and good friends. So I love that thought. And then, of course, the multi-state aspect, right? You're
Yeah.
talking about, hey, and I think there's a lot of people. One of my biggest fears, or not fears, or just things about real estate is like, man, I love real estate. I've spent 10 years building a business out here in Phoenix, Arizona, in the Phoenix metro area. I don't want to go start over. I don't want to start over. If I had to, if there was some crazy opportunity to move somewhere that I have always dreamed of or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I would take it. But at least I know that I could keep my license with my brokerage. I could keep everything that I've built here, and I can just move to another place and work on the same cap under the same umbrella, under the same business with the same partners, in just a new area. And I'll tell you, that really takes a lot of the sting out of that. And then practicing in both states. If I did move, I guarantee I would still have business here.
Yep.
So I would be able to conduct business here in Arizona. So yeah, what a relief that is to know that you're with a brokerage that is not only national but international, which means that if you ever move or you have relationships outside of your state, you can still work under the same umbrella, which is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Um, Love that. And then finally, talking about not finally, but just the next thing about EXP World and the brokers, right? I'm right there with you.
They're
I think
so
that people,
amazing.
it really is. I've been with two other brokerages. I've been in situations where, like, when you walk into the broker's office or you call that broker's hotline, it better be a pretty legitimate question or you're going to get a hard time.
Yeah.
I was brand new. And I was at a point where I did not feel comfortable asking questions that might be dumb questions early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know what that feels like. And I guarantee anyone that's watching this and has made it this far is probably feeling the same. And
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with you. I have brought people on and introduced them to EXP and showed them Zooms and said, you want to see how easy it is to talk to a broker? Watch this. And I share my screen. I type in EXP World. I hit Arizona. I walk in. They say, hey, Josh. I said, hey, I'm with an agent. I just want to show how easy it is to talk to a broker. They said, well, we're always here for you. We give a little wave and we bounce out and continue our conversation.
Yeah. Well, and Jeff Sutherland, he's the one that brought me into EXP. And, he did the same thing with me. He convinced me to meet up and have coffee with him. And he showed me what EXP looks like online and in general. And, yeah, I met him at an open house when I was still with Keller Williams. I had a listing. And so I was out scouting the neighborhood to see what my competition was. And I popped into an open house that Jeff and his wife happened to be in, and we all just got talking. And he just was a really nice guy, got my information. And Jeff is just the king of follow up. He's so good at it. And so he would just keep checking in with me and checking in with me. And I had a listing question, and it was when I was first licensed in Arizona. So I wasn't sure if I was using the right document or not. It was after hours, and I was just like, what do I do? And so I text Jeff and I said, hey, like, I know that I'm Keller Williams over here, but is this the right document? And he's like, yeah, that's the right one. And don't forget to check this box. A lot of people forget it, which I absolutely would have missed that box. And just so he was being helpful to me, even when he had nothing to gain from it. So
Yeah.
it
And
was,
that says a lot about him, right? And he's the one that brought me over too.
mhm.
And I was the unsellable. I'm still the unsellable. I like to think that I'm the unsellable. But I also have learned, because I almost didn't look at EXP.
Really?
Yeah, I've been with EXP 7 years. No one had heard about it when I heard about it. Jeff introduced it to me, and his persistence paid off for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally basically went to sit in, and just so it would shut him up. I even told him that. I said, "Listen, if this will shut you up, I'll go talk to your guy." And I did, and they showed me a model, and I just literally, when I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about it. I was like, wow, this makes like just something, it clicked with me instantly that there's a lot of opportunity here at this brokerage
Yeah,
outside of just me helping people buy and sell homes, which is what I love to do.
right.
Which kind of takes me to that next question. So I love Jeff. I'm right there with you. Introduce me to the model, the brokerage, the benefits, just on the support side are great. We want to take that to the next level. We created collaborative realty group, my partners and I. That's how I got to meet you, because with
Mhm.
Jeff's relationship, anybody that's with Jeff is part of our group.
Yep.
And so you jumped into our group. You instantly started showing up to meetings. I would love, I've actually think I remember overhearing you say a couple nice things about the group and the support. And so, for anybody that might not feel supported in their brokerage or their team, how has collaborative realty group, or CRG, been there for you?
Oh man, I think CRG has been amazing. I get something out of our morning meetings every time I'm there. I feel like, it's such an open, welcoming space to bring whatever you need to the table. And so I love that, it's not a formalized meeting where we have an agenda that we're going to stick to and this is what we're talking about. I love how you open it up. You go with the flow with it. And so it allows everybody to participate how they need to, when they need to, when they have questions, they get addressed, and um, CRG, gosh, just having you guys in the mornings to like talk about different things. And just this last week, we were talking about CRMs, and you made a comment that just blew my mind, because people talk about your book of business with real estate and like, oh, you build your book of business, you build this book of business, get your CRM put together. And I downloaded every person that I knew into my CRM. And I'm like, okay, now what? Like, what do I do with this? Like, am I actually going to ever talk to this person? Like, what is this? And so I was doing the steps without really understanding why. And then, you hear about these agents that build these real estate businesses and then sell it off for all this money. And I'm like, how do you do that? And then you were talking about it in our meeting and just the way you worded it. And I feel like I'm going to just stomp all over it. So maybe you can step in and tell me what you said. I'm like going dumb right now.
No, I mean, you said it right. I think that most people get in this business because they think it's easy,
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's not.
And they forget the basics of wanting to help people and be there for people. And then what happens is if you're successful in this business, you grow. It grows to a point where like you have to have a database so that you make sure that you're taking care of all the relationships that you've created. And if people don't understand that that's what they're trying to build, if that's what their book of business is, we hear that all the time. We hear book of business all the time with people that are entrepreneurs, and in real estate, some people don't look at it that way. And we certainly don't treat our clients that way. But in truth, that is what it is we're growing relationships. And if we look at that book, we look at that CRM as our business, and that's a snapshot, that 30,000-foot view of our business. And if you look at it that way, you're going to take it more seriously, and you're going to put more effort into making sure you understand it. And then, yes. And so I love that it clicked. I love that it clicked with you.
Well, and what you said too is you said your book of business is the list of people who've worked with you, who trust you, who will refer you, and it stepped me back a little bit and it went, that's it. It's the business people that are going to, refer you, the ones that trust your opinion, that know you're a professional. Those are the people you want in there, because those are the ones that are going to refer you out, talk to you, build you, buy from you, and so, and those aren't always your friends. Like more often than not, it's not your friends in your book of business.
Yeah.
It's a rarity, I find, when your friends use you, but a blessing when they do. It's highest honor, but also probably the most stressful transactions that I've ever been in is with friends, because long after the transaction's done, if there's one little thing that happens, they're just like, oh, this is wrong with the house. Like, even if it's just something stupid, and I feel like, oh, a little
I know,
responsible.
because we want to, with our friends or family, I mean, with
Yeah.
anybody, we want to take care of anybody. But with friends, it's different because, you just don't want to mess up even more for some reason, right? That's just friends. And then friends also treat you differently because you're a friend. They can talk to you in a little bit of a different way than just a traditional friend-client relationship. And then what's great about real estate is almost all of my clients, I can't say all of them, some of us didn't click, that's okay. But I would say the vast majority of the people that I've worked with are still my friends. We still communicate, we still hang out, they come to my client appreciation events, they
Yeah.
become friends.
Yep.
Current friends, and they're in their own tough position too, because obviously choosing a realtor is a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. You're selling a big asset, you're selling something that's worth a lot of money, and someone's decision or lack of decision or follow-up could cost you tens of thousands of dollars. That's the truth.
Yep.
And they're under a lot of pressure because there's this obligation to think to pick a friend, and maybe they have 2 or 3 friends that are realtors, so then they're in this really tough position. So not only is selling and buying a hard thing to do, but if you're selling and buying and you have to choose between a couple of friends, that really doubles the pressure. So we understand it to the friends, but I get you, it's the best. And so I love that you brought up our Monday meetings. I'm very proud that we've held Monday meetings every single Monday since before COVID. We
Yeah.
keep it very light. We keep it very informative, not informal, I'd say, but just very current, right? What's going on today? What are we experiencing today? What are we hearing? And when you're bringing in 25, 30 agents, 35 agents, you're getting a lot of different conversations, a lot of different opinions, which makes us all better.
It's the
Um,
collaboration part of it. And I love that about it, because we do legitimately collaborate with each other and talk and help each other and build each other. Where I feel that in CRG, there is not competition. I feel like in our group, we are not competitive with each other. We are like, I will share my listing with you. I will share my listing presentation with you. I will share whatever I need with you. Here's my contact for this. Here's my contact for that. Just reaching out to people in the group and being able to say, hey, who's got a great lender? My lender's just not working for me right now, or they aren't clicking with my client, and being able to have people who I can trust their referrals and give those to my clients, knowing, even though I've never maybe used that lender, that I can trust it. And some of the greatest relationships actually that I have in my career right now are from people that I have been introduced through CRG.
I can't even tell you how good that makes me feel, just because this was just a random idea 7 years ago. Kind
Yeah.
of happened by happenstance, and then now you're involved in people's lives. Now
Yeah.
you're affecting their experience in their business and their career. That's a lot of responsibility, and but it's also an honor. And that's why I love doing these interviews with people, just express like, hey, what about our group sticks with you, and what does it mean to you? Because we put a lot of time, we're very intentional in how we are. There's
Yeah.
no hierarchy here. No one sits on this golden totem pole and preaches to the crowd and takes half their commissions. That's not what we are.
Yeah.
There's a lot
No,
of teams
that's
that do
so
that.
big, because that was my experience. My first three, deals out in San Diego, I got paid half, because I had my split that went to my broker, then I had the other split that went to my coach. And it was a little discouraging sometimes, because I'm like, man, I didn't feel like I was getting the support that I needed in some ways. And then half my commission's gone, And so having CRG, where, like you said, there isn't a hierarchy there. There isn't, somebody that you're the dog and I'm underneath you, but everybody just helps each other, and we can reach out to each other and say, hey, I need somebody to hold my listing open, who wants to hold an open house. Just there's so many ways that you can pull in people around you in our team, I think, that will support you. And back to the team meetings, we got Justin always dropping all the things in the message box. Here's a link to this, here's the link to that. And then you can go into Facebook on our team later, and he's got all the links in there. And just like, having people who, such as yourself, lean into what they're good at and share it. It's so awesome to have that around you, where that the people around you genuinely care about what they're doing and what they're putting out into the world, and doing it unselfishly, very unselfishly, by the way. And just to be able to know that the reason that they are here is to support you. And it's been a game changer for my entire business, to be honest. I had my best year I've ever had in my entire business last year. And yeah, I capped for the first time ever last year. So that was my first year with EXP, and I capped. And so like,
Yes.
it was such an amazing feeling, because prior to that, I would sell maybe 1 or 2, 3 houses a year in San Diego, which is a decent paycheck, because I mean, it's $1 million
That's more than
out
most
there,
agents already right there. That's more than most licensed realtors for sure.
Well, but I wasn't doing a lot of business. I was getting business randomly. I wasn't working at it like I should
Yeah.
have been. I was taking way too much time going to the beach, But when I came over here, and, it, like you said, moving states, moving from what you were doing to somewhere totally new and starting over, it was terrifying. But making that leap and just having faith and trusting that I know what I'm doing, and that, God's going to show up for me if I show up for myself. And it was the best year I've ever had. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like a little bit of imposter syndrome. But at the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time, it was more of a, like, oh, I've finally made it. Like, I'm an actual realtor right now. I'm not just like a part-time person, like I'm actually doing the job and building a business. And so that's where I'm focusing now, is trying to, really work it like a business and build it like a business and treat it more like a business.
And it is. It's
Yeah.
a business. We have to think of it that way. But I love the fact that, you've switched environments, which is always difficult to do, especially in real estate, because relationships lead to deals for the most part.
Mhm.
But you did it, but then you also had the knowledge to find something that made a little bit more sense for you, your personality, the way that you like to be trained, the way that you like to learn, the way that you like to be supported.
Mhm.
Sometimes it takes going through the tough situations, at least for me, creating this group. I would not have created this group if I didn't have negative experiences in real estate teams.
Yep. Yeah.
Nothing against the people that ran the teams I was on. The first person I'm going to shout out, Joe Troppel, dude brought me into real estate. Love the guy for that. Tell him all the time, love you for bringing me into real estate, man. Thank you so much for making that phone call. You changed my life.
Yeah.
But the team wasn't great for me. And I told him that. We were very honest, and we left amicably. Then I went solo. I got lonely. Okay, that's not fun. I did deals. I knew what to do to sell a home. I knew what to do to buy a home, but I didn't know how to grow. I didn't know how to reach out. I didn't know anything like that. I didn't know how to write cards to my clients. I didn't know how to have client appreciation. None of that.
Well, and
Join
I
another
like
team.
I like that about CRG too, as a team, is that we're not a team where, I don't have to show up at a certain time, certain days, but all these things are here optional for you if you would like to use them and be involved in them. And so I find that really amazing. Just being able to pop in and out as you need to, as you want to, as much as you want to, as little as you want to, and not feeling like you're not doing what you're supposed to do for your team. It's really nice to have a team as a solo agent,
Yeah.
basically, which is what it feels like at CRG.
That was the goal. The goal was to be there. We're all adults here. No one's going to tell you what to do. If someone has to tell you what to do, probably not going to survive in real estate.
Right.
So we treat you accordingly. And so what we wanted to do, the biggest things that we wanted to do different than teams, we want to give you a lot more support and collaboration than most teams do. I believe we do that because there's no hierarchy. Everyone's on the same page. We're all fighting the same fight. But we didn't want to take splits. We didn't want to take splits. Commissions are yours. They're hard to earn. They're all yours. Keep them. We didn't want to take splits. We also didn't want to require you to use our branding. We recognize you are building your own business. And so if you want to use the CRG logo, We would love that. Of course we would. But we don't encourage it or push it at all. If anything, we say, hey, have you explored building your own brand?
Yeah.
Because this is your business. And so, you don't have to align and give us credibility in the market like a lot of teams do. I believe a lot of teams take credibility for the agent's hard work. We don't want to do that. If there's people that want to represent us, we love it. If not, we don't judge it. We just want people to do what's best for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you've experienced that so far.
Oh, it's been great.
And here's the thing, you've brought a lot to the group too. So don't, you got to understand some stuff. You've come into the group with your positivity, with the fact that, hey guys, it works.
Mm-hmm.
If you work it, it works, right? Because a lot of people will not work it and then blaming it on not working. But you are proof that, hey, I can move, I can join a new group, I can have all these changes, and I can still have my best year yet. And
Yeah.
now I'm looking at my business differently. I'm more intentional on it. I look at it from a different perspective, and I'm excited to grow something I never thought I would grow.
Yeah.
Is that
Truly.
fair?
Truly. Yeah. And growing it is something that I really desire to do because um, I love my job. Like I really do. And sometimes I get up in the mornings and I have to have like a good cry because I'm just like, oh God, it's stressful today or whatever. I haven't had a day off in a week. But at the same time, as a realtor, you have to learn to set your boundaries and you have to take those times off that you need. And you have to, build your business in a way that works for you. And just, yeah, I'm excited to do that though, because with CRG, I want to help people, not just in selling real estate, but like in general. And so being a part of a team where I can hop in and I can be involved with the knowledge that I might have on something and I can put input and I can give feedback, it's special to me because I want to do more than just work and make money, like that's not fulfilling to me. So yeah.
It's important, right? It's what we got to do, but there's also more to it. And I love that you pointed that out. I think it's really important that you pointed that out, that like, listen, like, and we appreciate that too. We appreciate you coming in, appreciate you teaching on the things that the things that you're passionate about. You're clearly passionate about your business. That helps. That's always important. The fact that you have a good cry means you care. That's a good thing. Most good realtors care, right?
Yeah.
I don't ever want to work with a realtor that doesn't care about their client. I've been through those. I've worked with those realtors that don't negotiate anything. They just accept everything I ask for. I'm like, dude, are you really working for your client? So I like that you care.
Yeah.
And it's funny. We didn't know how long this would go. We just said, hey, we're gonna have a conversation. Here we are, 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
And it's thank you so much.
Of
For
course.
just coming on. I asked you this 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and you're
Well,
like, sure.
it's something that I think energetically I've been kind of putting out there. It's something that I've wanted to do. It's something I've thought about. I just haven't like had the means to or the invite to do it. And so when you said it, I was like, there it is. You've been
Yeah.
thinking about it. Go do it. So,
And something called me to call you, right? And that's what
I
it
love
was.
that. Thank you.
So again, so it's fair to say anybody that is thinking about real estate, Arizona or California, anybody that would want to join somebody that is putting in the time, that's putting in the work, that understands the value of support. If you're in a position and you think that you would vibe very well with Tracy, and I'm telling you, it's pretty easy to do so, reach out to her, have a conversation. Like, don't. What I try to tell agents all the time is like, listen, if you haven't if you believe you're a career realtor, I don't want tire kickers. I want people that are like, I'm going to be in real estate. I want to build a business. If you're in that position, if you understand that you love this profession, right? We'll take new agents too, but I'm just saying it's a tough business. You got to love it. You got to be in it. But anybody, this is the place to be for a career. And to be partners with someone like Tracy throughout that career while building your own business is a big benefit. And
Yeah.
it comes for free, right? And that's what's so great about it, is these relationships don't cost money. Everybody's invested in helping each other because that's how we all grow. So
I
Tracy,
love
what do
that.
you feel? Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and that's so true about it is that there's not competition here. There's enough for everybody to go around. And I'm here to share what I've learned because it's a struggle to figure out and learn real estate sometimes. And so if I can help somebody not struggle in the ways that I struggled, or if I can give them something like that little tidbit that you gave me on Monday about what a book of business really is, like those little things are so precious and important. And to have people that you feel comfortable calling for support is just such a great benefit, especially when it doesn't come at a cost. Like you said, you're not going to have to pay your commission in order to get somebody to help you. You know, it's a great team.
There you have it. There you have it, Tracy. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your time. Appreciate you coming and joining us. Appreciate you being part of this group.
Thank you, Josh.
We value you. We truly do. And thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, sure thing. Cheers.
Thanks. See ya.